Hey everybody, this is Andrew Jones and it's time for another Artcast. This is, I believe, episode 44, and what I'm going to be doing here is, you see I've already penciled out this sketch of the character Sam from the movie Trick or Treat. If you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend it. I drew this based on this, hopefully you can see this on my iPad, this promotional photo. There's Sam there. So what I'm going to do in this video is I just got a brand new set of 72 Copic markers. I don't know if it's Copic or Copic, but I think Copic sounds better, so that's what I'm going to say. Been wanting to get a set of these for a long time, but they are extremely pricey. But I found a good deal on them, and I had gotten paid for some freelance work, so I thought, what the heck, went ahead and got it. One of the main reasons I wanted to get them, though, is that I do some airbrush work every now and then, and I like it, but it's not always the easiest, fastest thing to do, to just add a little pop of color to something. So what I've been doing lately, or what I wanted to start doing, was using this more, which is, this is made by Copic, and it's made to fit one of their markers. So if you take one of their markers, they have two ends. One is a brush tip, one is a chisel tip. If you take the chisel tip and just slide it into the gun, basically you have this little adapter that hooks up to your airbrush hose, and I'm not really sure what this little can is for, but once you've got that all hooked up, you turn on your compressor, and once you start feeding air through, the air basically blows across this chisel tip and simulates an airbrush. What's cool about it is you can use it with any of your Copic markers, and if you have a lot of colors, then you can get basically any color just by going and grabbing a new marker and inserting it in, rather than having to mix paint and then, you know, clean out the gun. And I have a really cheap gun, I think, which is why even in the middle of a project, I find I'm having to clean it out 3 and 4 times before I'm even done with the project. So I don't know if that's the fault of the gun, or my compressor maybe isn't set high enough, or whatever it is. But anyway, a lot of the times with these kind of pieces, I just want to hit it with some color, just some highlights or some shadows or something, and I don't want to go through the trouble of getting out the paints and mixing up stuff and then having to clean the gun and all that stuff afterwards, because I'm lazy. But so I've found that I've had black Copic markers for a long time, and I've used those with the gun with some good effect. But I really wanted a selection of colors to where I could just reach for any color I needed, put it in the gun, and shoot a little bit of color. But I've been playing around with it. I just got this set a couple days ago, and I took this, which was just, you might see this in one of my very early videos where I was talking about white pens, and I had done this little piece as part of that, and it was just black and white on this gray paper. There was no color. So I took the new Copics with the airbrush, and all of the color here is laid in with marker, blown through the airbrush gun, which I thought it came out really, really well. Then I went back over it with some colored pencils and a little bit of the white gel pen where some of these little highlights are popping out. So this was a really good test, and I think that definitely confirmed for me that it was a good purchase, that I think this is going to work out for basic sketches and coloring. So I think what I'm going to do here is just try to pick up as much color as I can from this piece here, and try to get the same overall look color-wise. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to try this. I've never used Frisket before for airbrushing, and I bought some sheets of this from Blix, and I'm not even really sure how to use it, to be honest. It does have this removable adhesive backing, so this side is tacky. So I'm guessing I'll just trace out what I want to mask, cut that out with a knife, and then I can peel it off and actually adhere it to the surface. So I'm thinking about maybe cutting out around the figure, and doing the background and him separate without worrying about it bleeding, because one of the things you'll find with the Copic airbrush is that it is not precise. It is not nearly as precise as a real airbrush can be. So that's kind of the downside. That's what you trade off. So just to kind of show what that looks like, I've just got a block of watercolor paper, and I'm just going to grab, let's just grab a red of some sort, stick it in the gun, it snaps in just like that. Turn my compressor on. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me talk, but I'm just going to kind of go over just to show you how some of these patterns are that come out of the gun. Okay, so I mean, it works just like a regular airbrush. You just I don't know if you can see that. Just press it down, it sprays across the tip, and you get this sort of airbrush-like effect. But you see, it does come out, and it varies depending on the marker I found. Some are more than others. You see how it kind of has a kind of a speckled look. I kind of like that, actually. It gives it a little bit more texture. So this one in particular does have a fairly round spray on it. Some of them, I noticed when it sprayed across the pen, it actually, or the marker, it actually had like a horizontal shape when it hit the paper, which is weird. So that's why you've got to really try every one before you do it. Have a little practice paper on here to make sure that it's coming out the way you think it's going to. But it's just like an airbrush, so if you just barely start to push down on the trigger, you'll get just a little fine mist. And it's, like I said, it's not near as precise. You're not going to get into super details, so you're not going to use these on sketch cards or anything, so anything that small. But you can get, if you get close to it, you can get fairly small pieces there. Something like that. And if you really bear down on it, you can cover some area. The one thing I don't know about this is how it's going to affect the life of the ink in the marker. I would think that since it's kind of atomizing it and using very little ink, probably less than you would use if you just were using the marker itself, that it should last just as long as it normally would, if not longer. You see, you've got a lot of kind of like really nice texture in there, and if that's not what you want, then you'll probably hate this. But I really like that you can get that kind of look. But see, look at that. That made like a really wide pattern. So it's not as predictable, and that's what you give up for the sheer convenience of it. And it's dry. I mean, so far I haven't had any problems with it being wet or smudging or anything like that. And the other nice thing is you can go back over it with colored pencil fairly easily. This would be even smoother if it were on paper. This is a watercolor block, so this is kind of it's kind of rough, so it's not coming off as well as it could. So anyway, that's how that works. So I think right now I'm gonna try to do this without the frisket, without masking it, and see what happens. If it looks like it's just not gonna happen, like if colors are just bleeding over into each other too much, because I don't have a lot of fine control, then I'll go ahead and cut out some frisket. For right now, I just want to see how quickly I can do this. So I may not narrate this whole thing. Some of this may get sped up in time-lapse. Like I said, I don't have a very good compressor either, and it tends to want to run all the time, so I may have to turn it off every once in a while just so it doesn't overheat. But I'm going to dig into this, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, I know I said I wasn't going to do frisket, but now I think I'm going to do it. Just looking at it, I just wasn't real sure I was going to be able to be precise enough. And again, if you know how to use frisket, you're probably yelling at me because I'm doing this wrong, because the ink actually didn't want to work very good on the surface, but if I want to cut it out and have the right part of it be tacky, kind of had to do it like that, so I don't really know. Learn it the hard way, like I learned everything else. If I do this right, I can do double duty to mask both the figure and the background when it comes time to do each. And this doesn't have to be super precise. A little bit of bleed is fine, and that's kind of what makes airbrush look so good. So far, this seems to be cutting pretty well. This isn't even a new blade. Let's see if we can get this out of there without much damage. There we go. Awesome. Now we got a mask to cover up the figure, and I've got a mask. Well, this mask will let me do the figure, and then this mask will let me do the background. Alright, back to the table. Alright, so let's peel this back so we can get the adhesive. It's supposed to be a low tack adhesive, so it should come back up pretty easily. I think the challenge is going to be positioning it right. like it's tacked down pretty good. It's covering up all the background, which is what we want. Alright. Now, just gonna get started, I guess. Alright, let's start with some highlights first, I think. Because this frisket is so see-through, I just want to make totally sure that I'm all masked out the way I think I am. Not going to use too much of this light color. Alright, I think a little bit more here and we'll switch. Darker red. Oops. Now that was a mistake. So hopefully I got it going a little too fast there, and it's kind of a itchy trigger here. It's hard to get a really light touch with it. So I'm just going to hope that I can cover that up. That's a fairly dark spot on the art too, so it shouldn't be too hard. This is the great thing about this system, is I just change colors just like that. Of course, the airbrush won't be the only color that I use. After this is done, then go back over it with colored pencils. Definitely a little afraid to go too far with this because I'm just not used to it yet. I want to be careful. Alright, now what? I think this is an older Copic that I had gotten as part of a skin tone set, and I think the ink is getting a little low. It's just not coming out of there real well. Just going to do kind of a light, very light coat of this at first. And some of these highlight areas I just want to keep with no color because that'll be colored pencils. Sometimes you just gotta let a little bit start coming out and then go really slow. Just let it build up. Alright, now it's going to be a little bit of yellow reflecting off that door. So I'm going to see what I can do with that. Now, I can tell right here this is going to leave a really hard edge on this red when I take the frisket off. So there's going to have to be a little bit of finessing on that too, I believe. But this is how we learn. I'm going to hit him with some shadows, maybe with a warm gray or something, not really black. Just want to see how this works out. Yeah, this black has a really wide pattern on it. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I don't want to go crazy with that. I'm going to give the compressor a little break here, and I will change the frisket over so I can start doing the background. Okay, so now I've got Sam masked off. I think that's going to work pretty good. So far as a airbrush base, I think this is working out pretty good. Once it'll really start popping out, start adding some colored pencils and a lot of the highlights around him, but pretty happy with this so far. So I'm going to start. Again, here's the reference. So it's got these yellows here, some oranges, kind of do this gradient into mostly blue on the sides. So we'll start with this yellow, see what happens. Nice thing about the frisket here is I don't have to worry about being too awful careful with this background. think that might about do it for the airbrush. I should have masked off this part here where it's supposed to be super bright yellow. So I'll have to find a way to deal with that. Otherwise, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Take this frisket off and then we'll see if we have to do any cosmetic touch-ups around some of the borders. Yeah, just a little bit, I think. There we go. It's not bad. In fact, I may even, I wonder if I can even just take the brush tip of those same colors and go around here. It's probably going to be too dark. Probably shouldn't even try that. Now, on to the fun part, which is pencils. Alright, so at this point I'm just going in with some colored pencil. Define some areas here. Not even sure this color is right. I think that might be as far as I'm going with this. Actually, I'm going to go over it with some more black. Black pencil, that is. Any places that need more, to be a little bit more defined. The airbrush can kind of take that away. Alright, I could probably play with this forever, but I think I'm going to call it done. Yeah. I think it's done. Alright, well, at some point this might be up in the store for sale. I'm not really sure. I'll have to look at it for a couple days and see if I think it was a success. But at any rate, I think it's a good couple tests with the Copic Airbrush system. And I'm looking forward to doing more of these. Thanks for watching.